This is a BZP Pro demo on the Smart Skinner biped. This is a mesh that I've made, modified from an original mesh of a centaur looking character. Original mesh was a cartoony character named Brondo Detenji. This is kind of a Sagittarian tiger, which is my zodiac, and yeah, no great emotional attachment, but kind of cool. You can kind of see what it looks like here. So Italian guy with Sagittarius and a tiger. So this software that we just made got reviewed at an 8 out of 10 on a worldwide scale in 3D Artist Magazine, 9 out of 10 on usability, 9 out of 10 on value. I'll go ahead and launch that in Maya. So BZP Pro Smart Skinner biped, and the software launches. So I'm going to go ahead and reference this mesh. I'll start by creating the scale node, then executing the sketch skeleton. Then I'll go ahead and just kind of take this and scale this down just a little bit, and then I'll come through and then take these joints and then just kind of move them around so they're in the proper location. This on the process is actually the longest portion of it, getting these joints into place. This whole rig production would take about, as I've said in other videos, about 100 to 110 hours. I know that Industrial Light and Magic bills out at about, for senior staff, they bill out between 500 and 600 an hour, and that pretty much means that would cost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to get this done if you had ILM do it. And this process actually saves tens of thousands of dollars on the production side. So if you're at Lucasfilm, it's Lucasfilm quality, EA Sports quality. Like I said in other videos, I was on the steering committee of Lucasfilm, setting best practices, and actually on somewhat of a steering committee at EA Sports, looking at all the sports titles. So I'm coming through, just kind of sketching this out, and as you can see, it generates a skeleton already in proportions. We got a rave review on 3D Artist Magazine praising us for how great the software is. At the value level, we scored at the same value level of an Xbox or a PlayStation 4, about an 8 out of 10. And since we've had representation at both GDC and at SIGGRAPH, where all the top companies are, this actually validates the ingenuity behind this product and shows really how great we are. So this is typically the longest part, sketching this skeleton out, and then coming through here, I'll go to top view, and then just it's kind of a back and forth thing, where you just kind of come back and forth, and then this is beneficial too if you're someone like Bill Gates at Microsoft and you want to cut down on hours of production, and you just kind of come through and kind of sketch this out. And this would typically take a lot longer, but with this process, it tends to fly by. The actual joint layout can be a little, I might bring this down a little bit more and bring this up one place and bring this down more this way. Get that lined up a little bit. And you know, a company like Sony doing convergence between video games and movies, or Lucasfilm. At Lucasfilm, when I was on the steering committee, one of the things I was doing was looking at all the assets like Grievous, Ahsoka, Anakin, and converging them into one super asset for George. I actually showed the work directly to George Lucas, and it was Ahsoka building in the Unreal Engine. And on the steering committee, setting best practice and standards for things like this for Industrial Light and Magic, who's made the biggest movies in the history of cinema, like Titanic, Jurassic Park, Terminator 2, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, what have you. Setting the direction, it was setting standards like this. And I was kind of doing the same thing at EA Sports. You can see here just kind of sketching out the fingers. And prior to actually, because we work with Autodesk, we're authorized through them. They're a $3.5 billion company and are basically our brother partner in all this. We're Autodesk authorized developers. We get full support and work with them on making sure that developers like all of you actually get the best quality products. Jeffrey Katzenberg, when I met him at an outreach program, actually said that rigging is the most valuable portion of the production pipeline. So we've automated that at the level of Industrial Light and Magic. I did R&D on Block Party, actually, at ILM, testing it to work with all the divisions. And the goal of that was to actually get things to work with film, game, and television. And at EA Sports, I was working with the body shop on all the titles as well. And on Indiana Jones, actually, which is a Steven Spielberg title, I was doing R&D on doing things like this also. I was actually, I can talk to you guys while I'm making this. I was actually influential in canceling the title because the whip mechanics didn't play like God of War by Sony. So you can see one side's kind of sketched out, like so. Come back to the software and hit 3A, it mirrors it over. Hit 4, it locks into place. Drop down B, hit button 5, creates the leaf joints. Might want to move these around, do what you want to do, you know, what have you. Just kind of move them around just so you have one side. Hit button 5A, makes it symmetrical. Hit button 6, makes the animation skeleton. Drop down C. Any extra joints that you don't want, you can delete. Maybe I don't want hamstrings, biceps, triceps, pecs. I don't want lats. All the way down to mobile if I want to, but I won't do that. Click the mesh, select the number of influences, hit the button, does a bind make this reference. And from there you pick what you want, either a film next gen title or a mobile title, depending on what you picked up here. We had film next gen. I'll hit 8A. Now what I do is come through and then find the Skinner scene that comes with the package as an install. They got an 8 out of 10, I might add, again on 3D Arts Magazine worldwide. Same review scores as an Xbox or a PlayStation. You can see here that the scale mesh is actually brought in. You can come through with this scale knob and actually scale this up a little bit to make it a little bit of a tighter fit. And then what you want to do is actually come through and take these individual handles and just kind of move them around. And that's what I'm going to kind of do right now. Just a little bit of a snugger, of a more snug fit. And I'll kind of talk while I'm doing this. Prior to animation, I actually worked for the architecture firm ranked #1 in the world, Gensler, and the design firm ranked #2 in the world, MBBJ. We worked a lot with Autodesk products as well, but point being, MBBJ is actually Bill Gates' architect, and Gensler is actually Steve Jobs' architect. So Gensler designed Apple and Pixar, and MBBJ designed Microsoft. And I worked at a hotel for the Republic of China. I'm just kind of chatting with you guys right now while I make this. But you can kind of see what I'm doing here, just kind of blocking this out. And what I want to do is take this mesh and encompass this in the proxy mesh and just kind of come through and get this worked out. Very powerful companies, Gensler and MBJ and EA Sports and 2K and DreamWorks and a few others. Very powerful companies. And Lucasfilm, which is now Disney. And I'm kind of moving these around. And now it's pretty much in the proxy mesh. You kind of see that it's kind of encompassed in there. Some of the fingers might need a little bit of work, but I can clean that up afterwards. So to skin this would take about 30 hours to do at the level of EA Sports and Lucasfilm like I was doing when I was there. I just kind of block this out a little bit, come down here, hit 8B, boom, and your skinning should be done, or 90% done. And when I come through here and actually move this around and kind of see it's completed, maybe I'll come through here, and as you test this out, you can see where the areas are that need work. So make this a little bit tighter, and it will require a little bit of cleanup. Hit B again, cleans it up, and it's pretty cleaned up. And on some forms, you probably want a corrective sculpt, or you probably move this down a little bit and move this down as well, like so. Hit this white button, it zeroes it back out. Once that's done, we come through and actually, let's see how this looks. It's good. Hit 8C. Now it references the scene. So now you have a clean skin weight scene with weighting on it. You kind of move around and see what it's doing. Drop down D, hit button 9. You generate an entire control rig at the level of George Lucas. Hit the button below, makes cartoon for squash and stretch. I just saved you 110 hours. So in the case study that is online, there were 7 characters that would have taken 770 hours to do. I got done at the same level of Industrial Light and Magic, if not better, in 3.5 hours. Drop down E, hit button 10, makes the facial GUI. You can hook up blend shapes to it. And you can see you have a working control rig. Very valuable to someone like J.J. Abrams or Steven Spielberg. Or Peter Jackson, or maybe even Tim Burton. Hint. Thank you for your time. We're BZP Pro, Autodesk authorized developers. We look forward to working with you in the future. And feel free to hit us up at bzppro.com. Thank you for your time.